We've all been there. I know you're probably wondering, like, what do I mean by that? We've all been there. But there's something different about what you've been through. There's something quite not exactly like everyone else. You see, it took me having my own experience to understand that the statement of we've all been there just simply isn't true. How I deal with things is different than how you deal with it, and how you deal with it is different than how I deal with it. What we can say is true is that we're dealing with something. And no matter how we choose to deal with it, we're dealing with something. I say that to tell you this. You're not alone. You're not the only one who's ever had those thoughts. You're not the only one who's ever had a moment where you wasn't so sure. But you also can be one of many who have reached out and got help by dialing 3 simple numbers: 988. Contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline with 3 numbers: 988. It doesn't require you to do anything else. You don't got to tell them your name. You can just simply tell them you need to talk and get help. Because whether you know it or not, I need you to stay. There are people who care, whether they know you or not, who need you to stay. Tomorrow don't just need you, I need you. Your family needs you. Your loved one needs you. So before you make a decision that you can't live with, make one that you can. And dial 988 and get help. Now let's talk football.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Pride Nation, welcome back, man. Listen, we back at it again. I got an interesting story to tell the people. I was supposed to go live yesterday, and yeah, I had a bad husband moment. I had a bad husband moment. I'll get into that in a minute, but before I get into that, let me jump in and see who's in the building with me. I want to see who's rocking with me, and if you are in the building and you want to shout out, you just simply post something. You can put a middle finger up. I'm gonna still shout your name out. Show me some love, man. Put something in the chat, and let's talk a little Detroit Lions football and free agency. We got my man's Barberry Lion in the building who says, Luke, let's talk some Detroit Lions football. Yes, sir. We got my man Ken in the building says, bro, I hope you've been well a long time, man. I've had better. I'm much better now, but I had better. But I appreciate it. My man Nola's in the building. He says, Luke in the mother house. You see how he did that? Put the love on there. My friendly neighborhood Lions fan says, sup, Luke? What's going on, brother? Good to see you in here the building. Bring them out. Bring them out. Crimson Shadows in the building with us. My man Marcus Willis in the building with us. Lions Fan Express is in there. Frog Crop is in the building. Says, Preacher Man, what up, brother? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Let me keep on going through. One Funky Lion Fan. What's going on, fam? Dose of Goodwin. What up, Doe? Not a Lion fan, but those Pistons, champ ready. Hey, good early evening, gents. Welcome, brother. Welcome. Let me see who else is in the building. Sky Guy is in the building with me. We got my man Will K in the building. Luke G. And the G is for gold. Hey, I'll take that. I appreciate that. I need all that love. Give me all that energy. We got my man Craig Ferguson in the building. Ben Diesel's in the building. Mikal Hope is in the building. And if you are in here, all you simply do is put a message in there and I'll shout you out, brother. That's all it is. Or sisters. I got a lot of Lion fans who are women, and I love that because many of them be knowing their sports. As you know, Vail is one of them. You got Vail's other co-hosts on the Den. Douchebaggia, Lion North Douchebaggia. I hope I said that right. I'm always botching names. My man Looney Tunes in the building. What up, though? My man Dan talks football, man. Luke got to work, but here listening. Hey, get that work in, brother. I mean, hopefully I can help your time go by. This show's gonna be a little bit shorter because I wanted to do this periodically throughout the time until we start to do it. Because one of the things I realized from our last show was we jumped into the draft talk. as if though free agency doesn't exist. And before we even get to the draft, we do free agency. And so my brain said, Luke, why would you skip free agency? Let's put more attention on free agency and then work our way into the draft. So I'm going to have days where it's going to be all about the free agency, and I'm going to have days where it's going to be all about the draft. I'm going to have days where it's going to be all about just general transactions. In other words, like trades and things like that. But today is a day of free agency. And the reason for this is because I want to be able to not skip the steps. We have to appreciate the process. So before we get to that, let me tell you why I didn't go live yesterday. I'm married. I've been married for a long time. And I think when you're married as long as I've been married, you take certain things for granted. And yesterday, I kind of took some things for granted. Shout out to my man Crimson Shadow in there. Facebook user says exactly right. We can't just skip over stuff. I literally forgot that yesterday was Valentine's Day. The sad part is not only did I get up, do my regular routine, right? I did everything normal like I would. But I left. And I saw this look on her face, could not figure out what the hell she was looking at. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I get to work, and all of a sudden, I see a bunch of hearts up in the air. I'm like, what is all this stuff? What is this? And they were like, hey, happy Valentine's Day. I said, when is that? Today. What do you mean it's today? When did this come up? It just snuck up on me. It was like Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe just decided that tonight was the night that you don't get to live and snuck up on me. So now I'm in total panic mode. So now I'm shooting text messages of heartfelt things because I'm going to show you how you can spin something even when it's bad. I'm in a position that I know that I didn't do anything. Not only did I not get a gift, I completely forgot about it. I just did. Didn't dawn on me. I forgot about it. So what did I do to adjust? I sent some of the most heartfelt messages I could send to her. Right? And while I'm at work, I'm literally running around grabbing arts and crafts and stuff that people don't want to make a homemade gift. And what I did was I took a bunch of paper and I cut it in pieces into a heart. And I made my own card. I wrote my own message in there. And then we have like a nice little flower thing by my job. So I just took a few of those, took a few petals off of those, made it all nice. I sprayed some of my cologne on it. When I got home with her favorite drink, her favorite snacks, made her a little candy bag, and I gave it to her like I didn't forget. And when she said to me was, "You forgot." I said, "No, I didn't. What I did is I didn't want you to be treating this day knowing that we both had to go to work like like we weren't going to do nothing. So I wanted to make sure that when I gave you your gift that I made from the heart, that you will accept it." And she bought it. She bought it. Up until I made another damn mistake. And it was me telling my friend, my best friend, that I forgot it was Valentine's Day. And didn't know she was standing behind me while I'm telling him this story of how I recovered the greatness of it all. And her response to it was, I knew it. And I went, fuck. That's exactly what I did. So, ladies and gentlemen, I did not do a show yesterday because I was in full damage control trying to just make sure that she knew that I cared and that it mattered and that there was nothing more important outside of my children than she. So it was one of them days. But she swiftly told me, you can go and do a show. I said, okay, cool. I said, I'm gonna just do it tomorrow because it's about you. And she went, it was a nice recovery. But yeah, I said I had to tell somebody how good the recovery was. And that's what do me, people. So I thought I'd share that. Didn't know that was gonna be the moment, but it was. And I recovered I bounced back like an old man hairline. I'm good with what happened. So just wanted to point that out. All right. It happens, people. It happens. So make sure you don't forget these important dates. You got a phone that's smart. It reminds you. All right. I want to do this too before I get into the free agency. Again, the Pick'em League is over. Obviously, and the winner of the Pick'em League is Big T. And our top 5 is rounded off by CB, Black Spirit, Tactical Puma 58, and Blue Jay SAR. So shout out to those gentlemen clapping it up. Now, ironically, if you're wondering why Black Spirit is at 3 and Tactical Puma 58 is at 4, and they have the same amount of games picked right and wrong, it's because Black Spirit won the tiebreakers. And that's why those tiebreakers are in place. They are very important. This same thing happened to the Lions, which led to the Seattle Seahawks getting into the playoffs and the Lions being out. That's why it's like that. So I wanted to do that. Now, this all stems from us making sure we talk about certain things. I read this beautiful article from Tim Tweeterman. I'm probably botching his damn name too. But I read this article and he broke down all these damn free agents. Like, I think it's like 28. So 18 unrestricted and like 10 restricted, I think it was. And so the first thing that jumped out to me was the stat line. And if you look at the stat line of this particular free agent, which is one Mr. Alex Anzalone, many people will see this and go, what a great season. What the box score. Bah. Yeah, 125 tackles, 77 of those solo, 7 tackles for a loss, 1.5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, an interception, 6 pass defended, 1 fumble recovery. Oh my God, he's killing them. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, and this is why you watch the games. This is why you don't just rely on stats. They can tell part of the story, but often the story that it tells is not in its full context. And then I read what he said about him, where he says, the heart and soul of the Lions defense had his best season as a professional. Now, I want y'all to understand something, that my big gripe came with the following part here, okay? The heart and soul of the Lions defense. And that for me is a problem. This for me is what gets me to get my juices flowing. Because as we talk about the free agents we can get, we need to talk about who can't come back. And if this man here is the heart and soul of the defense, we in trouble. We need to really exercise this demon up off this team. Not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that there's nothing good about him being the heart and soul of the Lions defense. And then the part about him having his best season as a professional was 100% true. And I'm thinking to myself, great, he had an outlier season. Let's move on. That's what I'm thinking. Let's move on. Let's not beat this dead horse. Let's let him slide. Because if I'm him, I don't think you're getting too much of a discount. And if you did, he does not need to return to this team. But I already know what's going to happen. But I would not re-sign him. I think they are going to re-sign him, but I would not. And to me, Alex Anzalone needs to go. And then I saw that they had here kicker Michael Bagley. And again, if you look at the box score, you go, oh my God, he was 33 for 33 on extra points. He was 20 for 24 on field goals. Yes, yes. And here's my overall review. I can do way better at kicker. And so again, another person going. And then I get down to Chris Board, and this is just the most entertaining one of it all, because I actually had people who had the audacity to argue and debate with me about this particular linebacker and what he was going to do for the Lions and then me telling them that, hey, he was a career special teams guy for a reason. And this guy literally just could not stay on the field because everybody else literally was better. And this guy right here, 21 tackles, 17 solo, 1 quarterback hit, 1 pass defend, 1 forced fumble. And everybody's like, oh, okay. He was very forgettable. He was so forgettable that we need to forget about him overall and let him get the hell on, okay? He needs to go. We need to make sure that he is no longer here, okay? And the reason for that is because guess what? You can upgrade these positions. You do not have to dive in to these positions and do it. You can upgrade this. And it's scary to think that these are people that was brought in to anchor this defense in a year, in my opinion, that was best suited for you to do whatever you wanted to do in terms of making a push, boost. Everything was there. We missed that mark. It is what it is. And so now we get down to a guy who I think you have to re-sign. We have a number of players on our offensive line who get hurt from time to time. And the one constant that comes in and gives support and it gives you at least a decent outing, does not cost you a lot of money, is this guy who plays center and guard, Evan Brown. And so to me, for a guy who was played in 14 games, started 12, and only gave up 2 sacks, you don't let him go anywhere. On top of that, I don't think he's going to cost you any money at all. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to cost you any money. Now, could he get the big head and think I can go somewhere else? And probably. But as long as he don't have that, there's no problem for it. Now we get down to number 5, which is defensive lineman Austin Bryant. And it's clear to me that they feel that they can live without him. And it's true, because once you have the emergence of people like James Houston, and you still got a younger guy that you want to see what he can do a little bit in Julian Okoye and stuff like that, yeah, he now becomes very expendable. And for the most part, no one's going to miss him. The next couple of names that's coming up, I'm going to piss a few people off because I know that people are not going to share this view, and that's fine. But the reality is Isaiah Buggs should not return to this team. It's just, he should not. That money can be spent somewhere else. And I want y'all to keep in mind when I say this, that just because a person had a decent moment does not mean they need to return. It just doesn't. Like I'll never forget this. I suck at basketball, but I'll never forget this. Just out of pure shame, luck, and universe saying, show me love, I hit 4 threes back-to-back in a street basketball game. I have never hit a 3 since then. Every squirrel gets a nut. I just want you to know this. And when I look at Isaiah Buggs, I say to myself, I don't really want to spend money on him that I can put on a player that I know can be more impactful and more of a long-term answer. And that money can better be served doing something else. I thought he had some good splash moments and did okay, but overall, I want people to remember that the reason the Lions missed the playoff was because of the defense. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. If you put a pie chart up and you broke it down into pieces, 90% of it was defense. I don't know how you can do anything different. DJ Chark. Now, here's another one that's going to upset a lot of people because you sit there and you see this 16.7 average and all this other trash. And the reality of it is this. The 30 receptions, 502 yards, and 3 touchdowns are great, but you're paying that man $10 million a year. And in many of those cases, he wasn't generating the separation that you would like to see, but you did something else. You decided to go out, re-sign Josh Reynolds. You decided to go out, draft Jameson Williams, and at this point, he's expendable. If you want another receiver, draft him. Wait till the free agency is over with and see who's left after everything settles. But what you can't do is act as if though we got to bring him back. We will be okay without him. And if you don't think we will be okay without him, then we got a problem. We need to really talk because you drafted a receiver who's supposed to be able to do what he do and then some. So I don't know why you will feel a need to keep him. I just don't. We get down to my man, defensive lineman John Cominsky. And again, box scores are not as high, but there are certain things that go on here. The 12 quarterback hit stood out to me like a sore thumb. And one of the things that's not on here, it don't show you the run stops and how productive he was in pushing the pocket. And I got to be honest, here's a guy that I would actually kick the tires on and spend a little money and bring him back. It don't have to be a long deal. It don't have to be nothing crazy. But overall, here's a guy that I would bring back. I would find a way to keep him on this team because I do think he can yield something and bring something to this team that we need. And so for that reason, I would keep him. Okay. Is simply put, because I feel like if you spend this money to keep Buggs, you spend this money to keep him, that's money is being split up on somebody else. But at least with Cominsky, he's not going to be looking to try to be a starter. He's going to be looking to be a rotational guy who can come in on certain downs and do his damage and get the hell out. I'm not asking for anything outside of that from him, and that shouldn't cost you a lot of money. Again, you can't bring everybody back. Some people just got to go. Now we come down to this one right here, and this is going to piss a lot of people off because Luke, guess what? 96 tackles, 73 solo, 5 tackles for a loss, 3 quarterback hits, 1 interception, 3 pass defense, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. He was amazing. You got Kirby Joseph and you got Tracy Walker. And whether you know it or not, it's a reason why they didn't put the number of games up there because he got hurt damn near every game. And while they may not show it up on the stat sheets in terms of starts and stuff like that, this guy missed a lot of time. A lot of time that we could have had with somebody that's going to be healthy. In fact, that's his history. His history is he played. Did he play more with us than he did? Sure. But if you compare it to the one season he had play all 16 games or whatever, he still was out a lot. And to me, that's somebody you can move on from. He's done what he needs to do. You do not need to re-sign him. This is going to cost you money. And why would you do that when you have a free agency that's still available? You still have 2 safeties on the rosters. And before somebody started telling me, well, if you think, Luke, that Tracy Walker and Kirby the same person, why wouldn't you want to re-sign him? Because this draft has some people that can do what he can do plus some. And I'm not willing to waste my money on a person who can't stay healthy no more. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of him not being available. So at the end of the day, I'm good on him. The next person, I don't think nobody's going to care. I don't need to do no real breakdown with him. I just got to say his name. Will Harris gone, right? I mean, there's no real analysis to go with it. He just didn't do it. And when you look at what Tweetyman points out, he says Harris made the move from safety to slot corner, and his ups and downs opponents combined for 70.7% of their passes thrown at him with a 107.1 passer rating and 3 touchdowns. He should only get better the more he plays in the slot. Yeah, no. I'm good on him. I'm good on him. I'm good on Mike Hughes. If you can't find legitimate corners in this free agency, if you can't find legitimate corners in this draft, then maybe you're not the general manager I thought you were. Number 12, running back Justin Jackson. I don't care. I don't care if he did any type of return game. I don't care if he showed a little flashes here and there. I don't care about none of that. All right. You got other people that could be concerned about. If you're spending money on running backs, this is the least of your worries. If you're bringing him back, it should be so far gone in the season that we're talking about trying to figure out what we're going to add because somebody's hurt. You will be okay without Justin Jackson. Sorry. Okay. Then you got safety CJ Moore. I don't know how he keeps coming back to this team. I mean, he is literally like a cockroach. Not saying it like in that sense that he's nasty or whatever, but bless me, excuse me, pardon me. Woo, excuse me. He doesn't do anything. He's a guy that you can just get for cheap, and he's so cheap that even when he go to other teams, you can still re-sign him from their practice squad. I'm over the CJ Moore attempts. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. Here's my next controversial one. We should re-sign Amani Oruwariye. Oh, Luke, you lost your mind. You have completely went off of the freaking, like, your meds are wearing off, Luke. Thank you, Rumble, for the blessings. Thank you, Noah, for the blessings. You have 100% lost your mind. You want to bring back Amani Oruwariye? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Here's what I'm thinking. I believe he just had a down. He had a down year, and I think he had a down year because he was playing hurt. I just think he was. I've seen this fan base show more patience to Jeff Okudah when he was hurt, but this guy, they just always want to get rid of. I've seen them show more patience for players that we really shouldn't have even kept, in my opinion. But what Twitterman points out is it was a disappointing season for Oruwariye. After finishing third in the NFL with 6 interceptions in 2021, Oruwariye lost his starting spot at the opposing passers had 130.6 rating with 4 touchdowns when throwing at him this season. I think he was playing hurt. Okay? I think he was playing hurt. All right? I could be wrong, right? I just think we need to keep him. Now, I'm doing all these breakdowns because each person that I'm telling you to get rid of, keep that in mind when I go and see who's available. Understand that. Plus, by keeping the money, that's one cornerback you ain't got to worry about in terms of learning the system and stuff like that. And if you're asking me to keep one or the other, you want to keep Hughes or Warrior, and you're saying, hey, I'll take Hughes, more power to you. But understand something, that by doing this, you are essentially making it to where you're not getting a cornerback until the third round. And the reason for that is because if I'm breaking Hughes back, I'm probably going to roll with him and Okuda as my 1 and 2. And if you're okay with that happening the next year, then by all means, God bless you. Yeah, I can't do it. The next person, again, I have no desire to even discuss this guy because I don't even know why I don't know how this happened. I would have much rather had David Blau on the team over Nate Studfield, but at the end of the day, this ain't gonna work. And at this point, you can upgrade this big time, whether it be draft or free agency, preferably draft. You can't do it. Now, in terms of this is another one of my controversial ones, and it's not me saying that I think he's hot garbage. It's me saying that, do I believe I can get a better free agent running back, or do I believe that I can get a running back in the draft to do the same thing that he did? My answer to that is he's a player I believe we can upgrade. Now, if he wants to do a discount, keep him. But if I broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record, you think I'm giving out discounts? Well, if I just hit 1,000-yard rusher for the first time in my career, you think I'm giving out discounts? And I don't see the logic in signing a guy who did good for you for one season. I need more proof, because I remember them games where other people wasn't able to break out from the running back position, and then, he was asked to be the one, and it just was nothing, right? So I'm good on that. I just think that if you sign him, I'm not going to kill him over it, but it better be a very friendly deal. And if you don't, I'm not going to kill him on it because I believe you can upgrade from him. The Dallas Cowboys are trying to figure out how to move on from Ezekiel Elliott. Just saying. Next is linebacker Josh Woods, another guy who just knows how to stay on this team. I'm not sure how. Now, I want to get through this a little bit quicker, so let me go down with the tackle. Matt Nelson, no, don't resign. Guard Ross, I'm not going to play with this man's name. I'm just not going to do it. No. Cornerback Bobby Price. Now, he has earned a contract, and I believe that the contract that he get will not set this team back. But I got to be honest. I'm a little bit skeptical of him because I believe if you let him walk, you can get him again in free agency, after free agency, and after the draft. My heart tells me that. And for that reason, I'm not re-signing Bobby Price. Okay? I'm not. I believe you can get him later, and I'm not signing him. So why did I tell you all that? Why did I show you this list and give you all these names and stuff like that? Why did I do that? Because now we're going to talk about the possibilities. And I'm going to work my way down positionally to figure out who we can add and where we can add them at and how they can help us. As far as I'm concerned, because we're bringing back Evan Brown, I can completely skip center, okay? I can completely skip it, all right? And so with me being able to skip center, I can just go to the next position, which is cornerback. And I've been hearing a lot of names. I know my good buddies over there at Woodward Sports is tossing names out there. Jalen Ramsey. Let me just go through this list and tell you why I'm gonna say no. Marcus Peters still thinks that he's a top corner in this game, and he's gonna want big money. That's a no for me. You're not. James Bradbury would be a consideration. Yeah, I know he held him, but you know what? He was open and honest and said, "Yeah, I held him," but he played well for the Eagles. And guess what? He's one of them guys who I believe fits that bill of I can prove that I can be value to a team. I can see James Bradbury, right? I can see that. Jonathan Jones, we're going to say no. Anthony Brown, we're going to say definitely no to. But let's go to some more viable people, right? Because another name that I saw come up where somebody said that was like, what about Patrick Peterson? If Patrick Peterson is ready to do what Charles Wilson did, and let's go to safety. And if not, then I guess we're not talking about him anymore. See, that's an easy fix. Very simple. Okay? Don't complicate things. Understand something. Many of the people I'm skipping is because I want to keep our theme of keeping them young. Detroit D, what up, though? Now, Nolan says Emmanuel Moses is a sleeper. Here's my problem with the Emmanuel Mosley. I considered him until I just looked at what was around him. And many of the times he just disappeared, even with all that around him. And when he would make a play, it was because of what was around him. I don't think we have that talent to bring him in just yet. Now, my man Dan Talk says Bradbury is going to be expensive. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He won't. But what I can tell you is if we gave $10 million to a receiver for 1 year, I could do $10 million to a cornerback for 1 year. I would be okay. Okay. But it has to be something that fits. Now, Shay says Luke doesn't care about the culture that's being built. Jamal Williams is the lightning rod for the new culture, and the lightning has been striking a lot more lately. I care 1,000,000,000% about the culture. I do. But I've seen us trade a talented tight end within a division. I've seen us bench players who were literally given the starting spot. We've fired coaches. Just because he's a fan favorite, people like him, does not matter. People like it, Dominic Raiola, and I wanted him going. It does not matter. This is a business where you have to understand that some hard decisions are going to be made. The culture, if it's only coming from a player, you already got a problem. At that point, Dan Campbell is rendered useless. Brad Holmes has lost his damn mind. The culture has to be built from the top on down. It has to be. So I'm not disregarding it. I'm not ignoring it. I'm telling you, this is about championships. I know a lot of Pistons fans love Jerry Stackhouse. I was like, can we move on? When the Pistons traded Grant Hill, people was like, oh, I can't believe it. But the reality is that we have to be able to make some hard decisions. The culture has already changed. The expectations are already there. And if it all evolves around Jamal Williams because he talks good and he's the spokesperson and everything, well, all right. But there's been a lot of teams who's had spokespeople in quote unquote the harder culture change, like J.J. Watts, who got moved. We will not be the first. We certainly would not be the last. So that's all I'm saying. We can upgrade that position. But understand something. My logic and my explanation for moving on from Jamal Williams was because if I just broke a Hall of Fame legendary running back who's getting a statue put outside of a stadium touchdown record, I'm not giving out no home discounts. And when you go out and you pay that person, like he doing this consistently, you're going to look back on this and say, we probably could have used that money somewhere else. Okay? So I'm just putting it out there. Luke, that's the thing. Jamal Williams just isn't a fan favorite. He's a team favorite, most likely an organization favorite at his point. Okay. Then go ahead and pay him. You think you finna get a 17 touchdown season again? Go ahead and pay him. Pay him for having all the great attitude. Because you just heard them say that the heart of the defense was Alex Anzalone. And the team loves him. I know because I never thought he was supposed to come back. And somehow he came back and got paid more. So we might as well bring him back too. We're just going to keep them all. Just keep them all. Everybody that they like, just keep them. We're not going to worry about upgrading or getting better. We're not playing for Super Bowls. We're playing for likes and hearts. Got it. This is the NFL. It's very cutthroat. Thank you, Dan. Dan Talks Football makes a very good point. The Chiefs fans, players, coaches love the Honey Badger, a future Hall of Fame player. He was a Saint last year. Exactly. You have to make hard decisions. You just have to. I'm sorry. And if you can upgrade the position, you can. Let me get back into the free agent breakdown. I'm open to the conversation. I don't want to act like what you're saying is so crazy. I'm open to the conversation, but I want to do it in a way that we understand that when you go and sign him, that money is being taken away from other positions that we need to fix on the defense. We are spending a lot of money on offense and none on defense, and we wonder why we struggle. So as I go through the rest of the cornerbacks, the one guy that I really want, that I think can help this team, is right here, Byron Murphy. Well, Luke, he ain't special. Great. He ain't did nothing. Good. He gives you something to prove. Okay? And all I'm looking for is the same attitude. I'm looking for attitude and everything. But on top of it, he's 25. He can't be worse than Hughes. He can't be worse than Will Harris. And he's 25. You could probably get him on a 2 to 3 year deal. And he's always shown fight and moxie. But I want you to be able to understand that when you're looking at a player like this, I want you to understand something. That this move that they're making is because many people have fallen into a certain stereotype because of poor coaching around them. I remember when the Lion fan base chewed a new one on Van Noy, and I was like, he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. I can't grade a guy when he's out of position. But I would love for the Lions to pick up Byron Murphy because he meets the grit standard. He meets the leadership standard. He's aggressive. And I believe he won't cost you much. Another person that jumps out to me is Sean Budding, a guy that played at football. He's from here. You mean to tell me I can't bring a dude home and put him in front of his home crowd? Look what Aiden gave you in front of his people. You bring home Sean Buddings, and watch him do work. Well, Luke, all you trying to do? No, I'm trying to bring you 2 cornerbacks that I believe can save you some money. That I believe can be here for at least another 2 years. And then if you want to move on from them, cool. But we're trying to operate within the window. And we're trying to get people who is looking to prove themselves and do it. And who better than a guy who can come home? These are 2 cornerbacks I'm not hearing. I'm hearing my Woodward Sports family talk about Jalen Ramsey like Jalen Ramsey is still a shutdown corner. Jalen Ramsey has been declining every year. I've watched him. He have a splash play here, a splash play there, and everybody think he got his status. Nope. I would rather have the guy who's scrappy and want to fight and prove himself, play in and play out. I'm not paying big money for Jalen Ramsey. And keep in mind, people, I'm still going by the belief that you do not win games by spending big in the free agency. However, you need to add key people at positions that can help do what you do. And on the other end of it, somebody's going to argue, well, they're not really good man coverage corners. Well, I happen to be a Bucs fan. I watched Budding. And yes, he had moments, but at the end of the day, I like what I saw out of him, whether it was man or zone. And Byron Murphy played a lot of man, and I was okay with it. His biggest problem is height. That's what his biggest problem is. His biggest problem is his damn measurables, which I don't really care about. I don't. I can care less. I know he likes contact. I know he's gritty, and I know that he wants to play. I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel. I'm looking to get people who still fits the same thing that we've always had. But these talks about people that we really cannot pay for is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We should not be spending money on names. I don't want to hear about names. I don't want to hear the names. The names is the easy conversation. My man Anthony says, I'm simplifying it too much. I think it's simple. I've always said football was checkers, in my opinion. I think when you complicate it with chess in a lot of those cases, just get good talented people that do what you want. But you know me, I gotta drop this in the chat. He said I'm too simple with it. I'm trying to maintain culture and get us people that's not going to cost you a lot of money. So I'll drop the link in the chat. So if you want to, rebuttal me and say, hey, I don't agree. I think you lost your mind. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. The link is now in the chat. I'm not talking draft. I'm just giving you the heads up. If you jump in here and want to talk draft, I'm not talking draft. We're talking free agency. I'm trying to get players that I believe fit what they've been doing. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to get people that can do that. So I'm just saying, Murphy was nice. Yes, get Byron Murphy. I wanted this kid back in the draft. My man's in the back. I see you. I'm finna get you in here. Dan Talk says, ooh, Luke, you struck gold. I like Murphy. I like Murphy in Detroit a lot. He isn't going to be cheap, but a great fit. I think he'll be a little cheap, Dan. A little bit. But I see you joining me, so we can talk about it too. Daryl Richards says Jamal Williams isn't worth an extension. Jared Goff needs another Todd Gurley. I don't know. Dan, it says your device not connected. I'm looking at the formula. They want gritty people on short deals that wants to prove themselves. I'm giving you those people at positions that we need to fix. If you get Sean Buddings and you get Byron Murphy, you still got Okuda. Buddings cannot be your slot. Just work with me, people. Amani Oruwariye could be your fourth. He's going to come back cheap. Your secondary already better. Okay? Facebook user, Murphy would be a great ad. All right. Buddings isn't bad either. Ramsey is too much money. All right. Let me bring in my people so they can rebuttal me because I am open book. Feel free. Amani or Murphy, they are about the same player in terms of impact. I disagree. Because I think Murphy is more aggressive. I think Murphy is more technical. But I'm not going to kill you. I agree with my man Detroit Rage Sports. What's going on, brother? I'm happy to see you here. I agree that Ramsey is too much money. I'm not trying to spend it. I'm not. Elite teams spend money. It's been proven already, buffed up, that the teams who spend the most money in free agency often lose more games. Just saying. What good is having money when you don't want to spend money to get and keep good players? Some players, I'll put it this way. Some players are worthy of being kept, but the money should be spent not to keep good players, but to keep great players. There's a difference. Let me bring in my first person, Crimson Shadow, and then I'm going to bring in my other two guests, hold tight, gentlemen. Crimson.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I've already upset the masses.
I mean, look, I'm with you on Amani. Like I said, this is the first bad year he's ever really had. Most other seasons I've seen, he's been our number one guy for the longest time. Really, for the longest time, he's been our best CB, with having to carry a Kuda this entire time. I don't know, but the fan base is very Jekyll and Hyde. We'll turn on him like that. Whether or not it was just the scheme was different, he wasn't used to it, or if it was just injury, I'm not certain. It was a really weird season for him. And I love Byron Murphy.
This got to be Matt. Matt say, Luke, you always upset the masses.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to just be different. I'm trying to evaluate this and give
Yeah,
you
Luke,
what I'm
it's a
seeing.
different type of Kool-Aid. Your tears.
Hey, what can I say? Nothing comes from not spending money. Nobody is telling you not to spend money. I'm telling you to spend your money wisely, right? I'll give you a perfect example, right?
There's a cap ceiling for a reason. Just keep that in mind.
I'm finna show you how money works in the easy example, right? And you know, before I get into that, let me break in my other two guests really quick. And I'm gonna show it. Next, I have my man Dan Talks from Dan Talks Football. What's going on,
Hey,
Dan?
Dan, how you doing?
Man, hey man, thanks for letting me come on, man. Man, I actually I got a good point here. I'm gonna let you bring on your other guy here because I'm gonna say some things people aren't gonna want to hear.
We gonna upset the masses today.
I
All
think
right.
I'm gonna upset you guys
He
too.
says, "Look, you're
I'm gonna say some. I
It takes an effort.
don't have the
look
black
good.
hat on, but I need the black hat. I'm gonna say some mean things here.
Listen. Shout out to my Roar the Lions UK family, but they say, Luke, you're not doing it on purpose. You just love a good hot take. I wish that's what I was doing, but it's not. The Saints should have showed us all caps a myth. You can restructure everybody. All right, I feel you. But now look at them. They're in shambles and they're praying for all better days. Let me bring in my man Anthony from Roar the Lions UK. Sir, what is going on?
Hey Luke, how you doing?
What's going on, brother? I see you say I'm a little too simple. We're gonna get into all that and then some. I want to hit a few more comments and then I'm gonna let everybody, rip me a new one. Joe Lewis 313 says you gotta love Patty. Look, I'm not even being petty today. I'm trying to be like I'm trying to be good. You know what I'm saying? We got my man Raw podcast in the bill. What's going on, brother? He says, what about free agent cornerback Jamal Dean and Sean Murphy Buddings? I was just talking about Buddings in terms of a free agency pickup and Byron Murphy. I do not want Jamal Dean. As a Bucks, I like the Bucks too, people. So don't newsflash. But as a Bucks fan, when I watched him, he was forgettable. And there were times where I'm just like, bro, that should have been you remember watching them games when we had Nevin Lawson.
You're giving me flashbacks.
I know where you would think that he would have an interception. It's like it's in your hand. That's what I was feeling about Deans at times. Where I'm like, man, you should have had like 8 freaking interceptions. I watched him, and he just always is $1. He's always a day late and $1 short. So, all right. So let me go through and give my man Dan Talks a moment because he says he's got some things that's going to upset the masses too. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, listen. The number one, Luke, everything you said was 100% correct. You got to make some hard decisions in the NFL. It's a business. You don't keep players that you like. I got in. I was listening, but I got in a little late. You're against Williams coming back. Am I correct?
I'm not against him coming back, but I'm also. I put it this way: if he's coming back on a friendly deal, great. But if I just broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record that been sitting for a while, how much of a friendly deal do you want me to give you?
Yeah, he's not coming back cheap, and this is the part where I expect you and everybody else here to hate on me. But I'm gonna have to speak some facts here, and these are some cold facts. And I put this in the chat a couple times. I said Bradbury's not going to come cheap.
Nope.
Byron Murphy's not going to come cheap. And here's where I'm going to get mean here. They're not coming cheap to Detroit. Detroit is not a destination place. Detroit's not a place if you're a free agent you want to go to. If you're going to have to pay more to have people want to come to Detroit, then they're going to want to go to Miami, Chicago, LA, Dallas, New York. Jacksonville had to overpay for free agents last year, and Jacksonville's a much more player-friendly place. It's much more of a destination location than Detroit. A lot of people think Detroit's going to be a lot of people. Oh yeah, they'll take a hometown discount to come to Detroit. Nobody wants to come to Detroit. Detroit is not a place people want to come to. It's not a place where people are going to take friendly contracts to come back. You think Jamal Williams is going to take $3 to $4 million less a year to come back to Detroit? No, he's not going to do that. And this is something that every fan base is bad about this. Every fan base, he'll take $5 million less a year to come back to my favorite team. That's not the case. But Detroit is really bad because out of all the teams in the NFL, Detroit's on the very bottom of destination locations. So I'm sorry, Lions fans. Bradbury's going to take a lot less money to go somewhere else than he is going to go to Detroit. Same thing with Murphy. So I understand I'm going to make some people mad here. People don't want to come to Detroit. It's not a major media market. It doesn't have great weather. You know,
got a dome. Chicago doesn't have that.
I'm going to tell you something. 9 out of 10 free agents, money's equal. They'll take Chicago over Detroit. That's a fact. And I know you guys don't want to hear this. And I know I'm going to be the bad guy here. I'm telling you this. As somebody who doesn't have a dog in the fight, Detroit's not a place free agents want to go to. You're not getting hometown discounts like you think you're going to. And that I'm just letting you know right now, you're going to have to overpay for these free agents just like Jacksonville did last year.
So let me try to see if I can bridge the gap between the disagreeers and the agreeers, right?
I know I'm going to get lots of hate here. I get it.
No, it's fine. So here's the thing. I think when you look at in terms of the destination of Detroit, you just simply have to go through and look at options, right? So you have to do comparables, right? So let's say if Bradbury is choosing to stay with Philly or Detroit. Well, Philly and Detroit have similar weather, right? But when you look at in terms of coaching, culture, familiar, he probably going to take Philly, right? So fair. If you had a chance to go to say,
you're leaving the big part out. Philly's a major media market. Detroit isn't.
Well, the media market stuff, I'm not worried about.
That's a huge deal. And
See,
you know why it's a huge deal? Is that agents want their players to play in major media markets. A lot of people feel like agents get paid on the contracts. That's not true at all. Agents get anywhere from no money to 2%. Where they make their money is 50 to 75% of players that do endorsement deals. That money goes to the agent. That's why agents push their players to go to media markets, because they want to get paid. They know if they get a player to New York, they're going to get paid on endorsement deals in New York, in Philadelphia, in Dallas, even Denver, LA, that they're not going to get in the smaller media markets. Agents have a big part in free agent deals.
Well, listen, I can't argue that, because I do remember an interview that was done with Darius Slay where he realized some things were different when he went to Philly. So I can't argue that point. But what I can tell you is this. I believe that many people are looking at what Dan Campbell is doing, what the Lions are doing. They're getting excited, and many of them will come here. However, I can understand why you can see why people would think, that we have to still overpay for players. And this is why I'm strategically saying, yeah, if I want to do it, it's still going to be a short deal. So we overpaid for Chark, right? You gave him $10 million for 1 year. We overpaid for him, right? So my attitude to it is okay, you overpay for him, but I wouldn't have no problem giving $10 million to Bradbury, because all I'm trying to do is improve the secondary long enough so I can get other talent in here and groomed and ready to go. Yes. Which is why I went into the Byron Murphy talk, which is why I went into talking about Sean Buddings, because Buddings will give a discount because it puts him back at home. He's from here. He's went to school here in Detroit. He played college ball here in Michigan. He will 100% go here. And the only reason I'm speaking on that is because his dad and my uncle are really good friends, and I happen to be able to talk to him. He wants to go home any damn way. Just putting it out there.
That's a different story if you got an insight.
Yeah,
but
so just putting it out there. However,
I'm telling you right now, Bradbury taking $10 million in Philly and Bradbury taking $10 million in Detroit, it's two separate and different things.
We're not gonna get no argument out of me. What I'm saying is if you go through team by team and break it down, the location by location, they offer something different. One of the things that enticed Sue to pick Miami was the Texas. Right? That's
another big thing. I don't know. Michigan has a state tax. Am I correct?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do.
So like that's a big deal.
So
in itself.
So again, I'm just looking at it about how do you get players that can still come in, still meet the grit attitude, and still not try to go for the bank. That's what I'm focused on. Now, with me addressing that, it does kind of tie into where I know Anthony's finna go with this, because he says I'm making it too simple. So my other handsome twin, talk to me. Why am I being too simple about this?
Oh, Luke, don't make it sound like a criticism. I know exactly where you're coming from. So for me, you're making this an issue where you're like, and this is what a lot of teams will do. Player X has outlived his usefulness. You want to move on to next player to make your team better, which is what, a lot of teams do. What this Detroit build is based on with Dan Campbell, with Brad Holmes, is based on its culture. and it is an ethic where you come here, you earn your opportunity in this team, and you get rewarded by this team. I mean, I'm going to turn Dan's words against your argument here. Dan is right. You know, right now, we are still not one of the biggest destinations out there. And you think of all the vets who've come and ripped us off over the years. Coleman, Flowers, Collins, all these guys who couldn't give a flying about Detroit and came here for the money. When you find vets who come here and give their all for this team because of the culture they are bought into, that is pivotal in this build for us. Take Jamal Williams, and he's saying you wouldn't bring him back or for the money, but Jamal went on national TV last year on Hard Knocks and said, this ain't good enough. This team needs to be better. He went out on the field this year and led from the front. He broke Barry's record. He was a vet who actually came here and kept his word to this city. To dispose of him, to get rid of him, undermines the entire message you are sending out to every player in that locker room, because they're like, well, when does my expendability run out? When is the next person going to come along? Why should I buy into this culture if they're just going to get rid of me down the line? It's the big argument I have with Jared Goff at the minute. He's quarterback on this team. He's leader. Year one, yeah, it wasn't the greatest in the world, but he wasn't put in the greatest situation. They unanimously backed him in year two. And what did he do? He had a little shaky start, but the offense for the most part has been good all season. He has stood up. He has taken the mantle of this city on, and he has played damn well this year. And for all those who are going, got to draft the next guy, got to go on. What does that say to every other 52 man in that locker room by saying your leader, your quarterback is expendable? He came here. He did everything that was asked of him. He took his opportunity. We're going to throw him in the bin. That throws Dan Campbell's message out of the window with it. And with it, your rebuild is dead. This is not a simple thing of saying, player X ain't good no more, can him. This is about culture. This is about showing to players, if you want free agents to come to Detroit, you have got to show that their loyalty to this team, to this ethic, to this culture will be rewarded and they will not be expended with, Luke. So I think it's more complicated than you're making it out to be. It's not as simple as he's outdone his usefulness, bring the next guy in, because I know just how many players come here and take advantage of this team. And I'm not going to get rid of the guys who play well and come here and do so. That's all I mean by this.
My Lord, you brought
I was ready to surrender. I was ready. But you know what, though? Unfortunately, I still understand that this is a business. Yeah. And whatever it is that you're going to do, I understand that it's a culture, but the culture needs to stay with the two guys you named, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. And if you have an opportunity right now, because I can guarantee you right now, every Lion fan, watch this. This is not me, Anthony. This is the Lions fan base. Watch this. If you have an opportunity right now to acquire, say, Joe Mixon or bring back Jamal Williams, you in the chat, who are you taking? Because I'm pretty sure they're going to say Joe Mixon. If you have a chance to acquire, say, a Derrick Henry or Jamal Williams, they're going to say Derrick Henry. If you have a chance to acquire Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams, they're going to say Aaron Jones. Now, why am I naming these players? It's because you, in your heart of heart, know that you can still upgrade and maintain culture. There have been a lot of good players on a lot of teams, good and bad, who were those cultural guys. And at the end of the day, you don't want to do those things. You don't want to move those guys on. Now, again, I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I'm not even disagreeing with you, right? I'm just making the point to say, and this is what my whole statement was originally was, if they re-sign him, great. If they don't, great. I personally believe you can upgrade from him by the virtue of this. We paid a guy for having a good season in Charles Harris. How's that worked out for us the second year? We paid him.
He got injured.
I don't care. I don't care. You paid Ellis Anzalone for having a decent season, and he still is meh at best. So I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. All I'm trying to do is get the people and the masses to think outside the box and prepare them that if for some reason that you have a chance to move on, or like as Raw Podcast point out, if you got a chance to pick up Kareem Hunt or Jamal Williams, you bringing back Jamal Williams. If your answer is yes to that, okay, then I understand you got a lot of love for him. I understand that you got a lot of love for that idea that he's part of this culture. But I'm just telling you right now, I would much rather have Sue back. And he wasn't a fan favorite. People turned on him like it was nobody's business. And I would have much rather had him back than many of the people that's being named. So I'm not knocking you. I'm not knocking what Dan said. I'm not saying that either you wrong. I'm saying let's put this in perspective. If you're giving a large chunk of that change back to him, and you know that at some point you got to figure out if you're going to re-sign Swift or not. And if your idea is, well, I'm going to re-sign somebody else and let Swift walk, well, you better find a damn good compliment, because that guy right now, Jamal Williams, is again, all talk. I love him. Everything's great. No problem. I just don't think we should be focusing on re-signing the guy who's going to want more than just a hometown discount.
So all I would say to that, Luke, and I have to say this last thing because I'm about to eat. It's midnight and I've not had any food.
Oh yeah, I know.
Podcasting all night. But all I would say is, usually I see exactly where you're coming from. You want to upgrade the team, keep building, keep going to where you are. All I would rebuttal to that is, how did this team get out of the 1-6 slump last season? It wasn't talent. It was, but it was belief in the message that Dan Campbell sends out, and it is rooted in culture. This is not a normal, what I would call a rebuild, because like Dan says, this is not a tourist. This is not a destination where people want to come. This has been built around its culture, and it's far more valuable than I think you're giving it credit for in this case. That's where I'm sort of here, because I mean, yeah, you could go out and get Joe Mixon. Well, a few years ago, we went and got LeGarrette Blount, who'd won a Super Bowl. What did he do? He ran 1 yard up the gut, couldn't be bothered. One of the worst running backs we've ever had in our lives.
To be fair,
what's happened.
To be fair, that's a poor comparison in my opinion, because we wasn't talking culture when we got Blount.
But what I'm saying is how well a player plays now for his team is not different to how well a player comes here and plays when he's getting paid tons of money. You're paying Joe Mixon well over $10 million a year. What if his ass just comes here and earns his money and goes home? We've seen it with too many players here, Luke, and you should know that by now. We have been bitten by too many players who come here for a paycheck and just do not want to bother. What is more valuable to this team right now is veterans who are bought into the culture and want to see this team succeed going forward. You will be better served drafting a running back for the future, putting him in a room with Jamal, learning off someone who has the right heart, the right message to this team, and passing it on to a rookie for future years, not bringing in a guy and paying him and hoping that for some reason New Detroit is going to cure him of all this. We've seen it too many times. I'm not
saying that.
So that's where I'm coming from.
I'm not saying go out and get new guy and pay new guy. I'm saying you can draft you another back and keep Swift and not lose that money on the other end. But I'm picking up what you're putting down, and for that reason, I'm just gonna go ahead. That's it. I surrender. I give up. I give up.
And actually, we were talking about that last night when you left, Luke. We were kind of talking about when it came to wide receivers and other players on the team. It's like, say if Khalif Raymond left or Craig Reynolds, do you think wherever they leave, they're going to play as well as they do in Detroit? I don't think they do. I think a lot of people play a lot harder here than they would any other team. Just like Anthony just said, a lot of players will just come here for a paycheck. Their last regime was a great example for that, with Flowers, Collins, Coleman. They didn't give a crap. They just came here for a paycheck. There was no heart. And is that me trying to say sign Williams? You could sign him or not if you want. That's not going to hurt me, but I get it. It's a matter of this team has improved. There is no doubt. You came from 3 wins and 9. That's not a small feat. And a lot of this is a really similar roster with a few added pieces.
And see what Rumble says about Golladay. They signed him thinking, big, expensive wide receiver. He's going to come and play well for us. Well, that panned out well. It's all I'm saying is what I'm different to you is, Luke, because I think the culture is more important than you're giving it credit for. And not that, this is just centered around Jamal. It's not, but you have to be careful that the moves you make don't unbalance the culture you've created here, because I don't think you can underestimate how much the culture is part of this build. It's to our young rookies. You've got to show them that the message you're sending out, that if they play well and earn their spot in this team, that they will get rewarded and that they're not looking over their back looking to be replaced every season because something better comes along. You've got to keep that message intact. So that's all I'm saying. When I say that you're simplifying it, I don't mean you're simple or anything like that. I know you do your research on everything. I'm just saying it's a little bit more complicated than just black and white of we can just upgrade. You've got to take the culture into account here. Otherwise, it will all fall down very quickly.
Yes, and I like to think
I'm not disregarding the culture. I'm not disregarding the culture. My belief is the culture is within my head coach, its coaching staff, and my general manager, not the player. It's not the player. He had a good year, right? 1,000 yards in 17 games. Well, a little bit over 1,000 yards in 17 games. Yay! But let's be honest. He's not giving you a cheap deal. So I'm on Sports Track. All right, I'm on Sports Track, and I just want to see in general. So they're calculating the market value to be about $4.1 million annually. But even they are not trying to pay him. They're giving him a 2-year, $8 million deal. I don't see him taking that.
I think he takes a lot more.
So-
There's going to be somebody out there that wants to pay Jamal Williams.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he takes an $8 million 2-year deal. I don't see it.
So if I could just quickly say this, I'll very quickly say it. This time last year, people said exactly the same about Charles Harris. He's going to rinse us for a massive contract or he's going to go elsewhere for big money. What happened? He came back here on a decent deal for the team. And I know you're going to say it's not been good for us. Injuries happen. We've been bitten by the injury bug. But this time last year, everyone said Harris and Walker were going to rinse us for all the money they could, and they didn't. So this is based on assumption of me. We're going to assume that he is going to ask for big money. I think this is different. And if you've got to wait and see what the demands are. If he wants to sign for $4 million, you sign him like that. You don't even stop and think about it.
But here's the thing, though, Anthony. What I said was, if he gives us a hometown discount, great, bring him back. But if he's not, then let's move on. I said, I don't care if you bring him back or not. If it were me, I would move on. Why? Because I do not believe he's giving you a hometown discount. I don't believe that you get to break a record like Barry Sanders. First of all, putting Barry name in anything and saying you hit Barry Sanders, yeah, you're gonna have to pay me. And I'm telling you that I don't see a scenario where he gets a 2-year, $8 million deal. That's almost something you can do on Madden football. I just don't see it. However, I surrender because I believe we have to wait and see what he does. It's been times where I thought a guy was going to ask for a lot of money and they took a super cheap deal. I've seen it. But again, none of this that I'm saying is undermining the culture. Is saying you need to upgrade and build something bigger and better on the defensive side of the ball, and the time is now. You can keep playing around with it if you like, but at the end of the day, it's not going to end well for you, as we've seen this past season.
I do have to ask, Dan. Wasn't it true that the running backs are in the Super Bowl? Both of them are like 7th round running backs.
Right. No, we need to kill this now. Yes, it is. But you've got to take into account with Pacheco.
We did draft a running back in round 1. We should have took Swift, but
17 running backs got taken on day 3 last year. 3 of them contributed to their team this year. That's a 1 in 6 chance. And he is running behind one of the best O-lines in the league. I'm not taking anything away from Pacheco at all. But this narrative that it has to be a 7th round guy or it's really late it's not true fully. So you can't just assume that you've got a 1 in 6 chance of landing on a running back. That's not a good ratio. It really is not.
You know, you guys.
I was just highlighting on how good your O-line needs to be. It needs to be so good that a 7th round running back can run straight through to make it look great.
Chiefs spent a lot of money in draft capital on that offensive line, too.
Exactly.
A lot of money and a lot of draft capital.
Again, I want to hit the chat up. I want everybody to get their voice in, and I want to make sure I give everybody opportunity. Jacob Burnley says, I feel we cannot worry about running backs this year. I will focus on D tackle, linebacker, cornerbacks, and guards and backup tackles, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do it by introducing options that I think even if you had to pay them a little bit more money for 1 year, it's still cheap. Like, for example, who would you pay more money to? Not me asking like who you want to, but who you think would actually cost more. Trying to put Jalen Ramsey on a 1-year deal or Bradbury. Bradbury's going to be cheaper. Yeah. Trying to get Bradbury on a cheap deal or Byron Murphy. Murphy's going to be cheaper. Trying to get Murphy or Buddings on the cheaper deal, Buddings is going to probably be cheaper, and I'm just trying to save it. But shout out to my man Anthony from Royal Alliance UK. That man got to eat, and he's always up super late because he is not here in the States. He's in the UK.
He's
so
a trooper.
I appreciate him for coming through. But I'm just showing you based on what is present, and I'm bringing this up a little bit bigger so y'all can see. And I'm just trying to get through the free agents we should be targeting. And all I'm saying is when you go through and you look at these free agents, Murphy and Buddings should be targets.
What about Rocky Sin? What do you think about him?
Who?
Rocky Sin. He played for the Colts.
Nah, I'm good.
Good on Rocky? Okay.
I'm good on him. I think my problem with him is he had like that one good year where he looked like he was going to be just a dog. And then after that, I saw with some receivers, particularly a Seattle Seahawks receiver, was doing a lot of damage and bullying him, and I didn't like it. And again,
all Greedy's on the board, guys. Greedy's here.
No, we're not doing that. But again, those are two cornerbacks that I would look at, and I would go, hey, let me give them a look, because to me, you already got a Cuda, right? If you keep Amani can be your fourth, right? And then you got oh god, what's the other one? Jacobs. God damn, what's his first name?
Hey, you can always bring back Michael Ford.
No, not Josh Jacobs, the cornerback the Lions have.
Monty Warrior.
No, Jacobs. What's his
Hughes?
No, Jake, the other cornerback.
Jerry Jacobs? You're talking Jerry Jacobs, right?
So right,
Yeah,
so you
Jerry.
got Jerry Jacobs, right? If you already got Jerry, you already got Okuda. Now you bring in Murphy, Buddings, and you keep a Warrior. There go your 5 corners. I feel much better about that than what we came into the season with this year. Period. I feel much better about it. And then what I would do, again, because you can't sign all of these people. There's a few other cornerbacks on here that kind of stood out to me. But again, I want to keep it to the youth movement, but with some veteran leadership going along with it. But that's just me. People don't have to agree with me. This is why this is an open forum for you to come in and chew me a new one, and I'm not mad, right? Like, go do your thing. But when I go down and I get to looking, right, I don't want nothing to do with any pass rushers. I don't. You should have enough already. I don't. So that brings me to my next position that I want to discuss, because I think these are people who I think fit culturally, and these are people who I think can help you and should not cost you a lot of money. Now, the one person I think you can take, and I think he's gonna cost you money, but it might be worth it because you get more years out of him, is Deron Payne. I get it. I know my Woodward Sports people are talking about it. Other YouTubers are talking about Deron Payne. I just don't think he comes here.
I don't. That's gonna be one contract right there.
He's going to be very expensive.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. He's going to be very expensive, and he's not going to come here. I think
Sue. I could honestly.
No, I think Sue ain't coming back here. Sue hates us. I know why.
No. He hated our old culture.
No, he hates us. He hates his fan base. These people were very disrespectful when he was here. So I'm just saying, we're just gonna keep it 100.
To me.
Now, keep in mind, I'm assuming that the Lions are going to draft them a D tackle. However, I've already said bring back Kaminsky, right? But the guy that I could not stop looking at was right here. There's no way Kansas City gonna be able to bring him back. I just don't think they're gonna be able to do it, Dan. I could be wrong.
No, we're in a tight salary cap situation.
That's what I thought.
By the way, you guys would love Kalen Sanders. This guy is a guy. He's just got immense upside and was a big time contributor in the Super Bowl. That's going to be a big loss for the Chiefs too. That's a really good football player, by the way. And the best part is he could play on a 3-4 team. He can play on a 4-3 team. He has a lot of scheme versatility. If you guys are able to sign Kalen Sanders, that's a very, very good free agent.
And again, I'm picking people that I believe that I can get in a fair deal who can help us immediately. But this is what I want y'all to understand. Let me see if I can bring this up. One of the reasons why I picked him is because he reminds me so much of a certain player. And that player is your already D tackle that you have Now,
Aleem
Aleem McNeil,
McNeil.
a big guy who can move, get stuff done, and
Right.
I'll show you exactly what I mean. All right.
You 100% nailed it. He's very, very similar size, speed. I mean, this is a really, really good player, Colleen Sanders, and he's a guy that I'm going to be very upset when he leaves. But there's really not a way Kansas City would be able to keep. I don't see a way Kansas City can.
I don't either. That cap is tight.
Mhm.
Now, mind you, there's two players I'm going to point out to you that we're not talking about in the mass media. We're talking about names, and I'm tired of talking about names. Why is this not loaded up?
It's easy to talk names.
All right.
You're right. Too many people play Madden and do all these crazy things, and they think that this is what happens in real life.
So watch this. Let's say we playing 3-4-4-3, whatever you want to call it, right? I can literally pull Aleem McNeil out and put in almost a carbon copy at 6 foot 324 to do the exact same thing. Like literally. And if I put them both out there, we just fixed a lot of the run problems. Now, keep in mind, I'm still under the belief that we can draft a D tackle. But the D tackle that everybody wants is Jalen Carter. I don't think he'll be there, which means that you need to get a complimentary guy. And because you're keeping Kominski, because you got Aleem McNeil, you add Saunders, right? And then you turn around and draft you another guy because Pascal is supposed to be that in-between guy. Then you can start to make some different moves. This also helps you adjust your game plan in terms of going after certain draft picks. But I'm looking at that guy. Now, just stay with me, all right? Just stay with me because I think that my viewpoint is a little bit weird to people, right? It's a little bit more strange in the regards that, I'm looking for players to do certain things, right? And so one of the things I want to show people is another guy who is a under-the-radar player, but I think you can get him here on a cheap deal, who can help you at that position if you can't get Saunders. But that's Greg Gaines, the D tackle off of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I know
that's a great fit for Detroit. I love that guy.
Got connected.
He's is he the guy that they moved to outside linebacker?
Yes, they did all this.
That is a really, really good player, and you get some scheme versatility with him. I'm not talking. Don't put him at outside linebacker like the Rams did. That they did that out of desperation. He's an interior player, but here's the thing: he can play in odd and even fronts. He can get pressure after the quarterback. He's solid against the run. I think the fact that he said, hey, look, whatever I can do to help this team win says a lot about his character and his work ethic. It's a smart kid. If I remember, I went to like an Ivy League school or a small school. I could be wrong about that.
Wait a minute. Maybe it was Mike Hochet that they put it outside linebacker.
I thought it was Gaines, but I could be wrong. But
I think it might be Mike Hochet that they put it outside. However, this guy, this Greg Gaines guy, I believe fits a lot of the culture. He has a little bit of familiarity with the Brad Holmes. I'm just giving you some names that outside of the names that they're putting out there. Everybody wants Daron Payne.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that, right? Everybody wants the big name guy. People are talking Ramsey and all these big. I don't want big names. I need one more D tackle. Draft me another D tackle. Bring back Kominski, and then you still got Aleem McNeil. There go my four. I'm feeling good.
You're just spitting facts here, and the fact that you're getting hate here from your chat is kind of mind-boggling to me. I mean, you're just you have to pick players that not only fit your culture but fit in the salary cap. For you guys out there that think that Jamal Williams is going to take less money to come back to Detroit when he put up, he broke Barry Sanders' record, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I hate to use the word delusional, but that's the word I'm thinking. I mean, to sit here and say, oh, yeah, he's just going to take less money. Why? Why would he take less money? And then the second point I want to make here, people keep talking about culture. You know who is a big cultural impact player for the Kansas City Chiefs? The Honey Badger. What happened? He left. What did the Chiefs do? They just won the Super Bowl. So don't give me this culture bullshit. That's bullshit. Who was one of the biggest leaders on the Chiefs last year? The Honey Badger. What did he do?
Yep.
He was in the Saints last year. Guess what the Chiefs just did? They won the fucking Super Bowl. So that culture stuff that you're talking about, it's a bunch of bullshit. Here's look at what the Chiefs did. They got rid of some players that were fan favorites. The Honey Badger, Tyreek Hill. You know what they did? They won the fucking Super Bowl.
And now the argument they're going to make to you
is there anybody in Detroit's front office who's familiar with what the Chiefs did? John Dorsey.
About to say,
Do
Dorsey.
the same fucking thing that the Chiefs did. Don't overpay for players who don't want to be there. Do model what the Chiefs did. Trade down, get a bunch of draft picks, draft and develop younger players. Guess who did this? The Chiefs. You know what the Chiefs did? They won a Super Bowl.
And see, here's the thing, Dan. They're going to tell you, Dan. They're going to tell you that the difference is they got Patrick Mahomes, and I'm trying to get people to understand that you do not understand. The games are won by teams, and all I'm trying to do is interject people that are not being named because we're going after the big name. I don't want the big
guys
name.
that think that the big name players are going to take less money to go to Detroit, or I hate using delusional, but that's what you are. Out of all the destinations in the NFL, Detroit's probably 25th out of 32, and I'm being generous. I mean, people don't want to come to Detroit. I'm sorry. Get that through your head. Free agents aren't taking less money to come to Detroit. For those of you longtime football fans, Marty Schottenheimer, when he was at the Chiefs, people didn't want to come to Kansas City and play under Marty Schottenheimer and those brutal practices and the shitty weather and the small market. It was a bitch. It was a bitch. And yeah, we got guys like Juju Smith-Schuster who came on a cheaper deal, but we also had to let some players go. Football is a copycat league. Look at what the Chiefs did. And that's what the Detroit Lions should be doing. Take that 6th pick, trade down, get an ass load of players, try to sign players to the friendly contracts that don't want to be there. Don't go after big name players. Is Jordan Reed a big name player? No, he wasn't. Guess who the Chiefs signed to replace the Honey Badger, a player who was worth about half. You know what he did? He started in Super Bowl, and he has a ring now.
And again, I'm just making the point, Dan, and to you, Chris, and to the other Lions faithfuls, that again, I get the cultural point. I do. I get it. But I'm telling you, we can still sign upgradable players that are still cultural fits, and you will be all right. Because what I can tell you is right now that last year, 100%, while everybody thinks that I just hate Brad Holmes, I went after Brad Holmes to get people to truly understand why you were delusional to want to fire Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell wasn't the problem. You don't fire coaches when their side of the ball is performing. I keep telling y'all this, that one of the things you look at with the Vikings is that they moved on from Mike Zimmerman the moment the defense was hot garbage, and they should have. And when you go through and you look at other coaches, when you start to see that this side of the ball is not performing, you get fired. When they went out and hired Hackett to be for the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos can barely scratch 20 points, you got to go. Matt Patricia supposed to be a defensive guru. You were dead last in defense. You got to go. And so when you look at what Dan Campbell had going on, was an offense who was putting up 45 points but lost because the defense gave up 48. I'm addressing the real elephant in the room and the problem. And the problem, in my opinion, is the defense. And I'm trying to fix that by giving you quality players who I believe can come in, help us win, not going to cost you a super arm and a leg, or if they do, it's a short prove-it deal to where you can still go out and draft somebody as a place, have them as a placeholder so they can earn their way. I'm just saying that I don't want to get caught up and fall in love with players when I'm trying to keep the culture going but still win the Super Bowl.
You culture, one player not going to lose the culture, all right? I mean, you guys are going to lose Jamal Williams, and everybody's going to just walk around with their head down and half-assing during practice. It's not going to happen that way. It's really not.
Now, to go to the next position, I think that we can probably find somebody there. And mind you, I wanted to bring Evan Brown back, but to look at it, I'm just going to put it out there. I believe that we have to find another guard.
Agreed.
And Will Hernandez is intriguing, but I believe that because of these guards' ages, and some of them are trying to get that big deal contract and some of the names, like I don't think you have a shot in hell at Ben Powers. I just give it up. All right. You don't have a shot. Okay. I don't believe you do. Could be wrong. I don't believe you do. My belief is you have to draft your guard, which brings me to the position that I'm tired of people acting like we can keep ignoring. So, what did I do? I decided to look at people who I believe could be a cultural fit and people who I think will still come here on a short deal who wants to be a part of a changing of a culture and a changing of a guard. And the first person that jumped out, which I talked about last week, was Levante David. The reason I talked about that is because he gives you a real veteran presence, but I feel like his play was not where it was in this 3-4 under Todd Bowles like it was when they was in the 4-3. And so he still played well in the 3-4. Don't get me wrong, but he was much better in the 4-3. And I feel like Levante David fits exactly what you need. A guy who can do it, a guy who has the cultural fit, a guy who can come in and give you some veteran leadership, a guy who can let you know that you don't really need Alex Anzalone. And because he's older, he's going to come a little bit more cheaper. Now, he's another person that I identified. But keep in mind, I still want to draft my talent on defense so I can get them young and I can build them up. But I need to bring a guy like him in the building. The other name that I wanted to bring in the building, I wanted him to be here this past season. We didn't get him, was Jayon Brown. I wanted a guy that I don't think is going to require a super chunk of money, but would be willing to be a part of a cultural change. And that to me is what we should be looking at. Now, I looked at some of these kickers. Many of them I don't even think going to make it to market. And I feel like you could probably draft one. So I'm sparing the kicker talk for right now. To go back to the other linebackers that stand out to me, who I think you can probably get, but this one's going to cost you a little bit more money. And that is Leighton Vander Esch, a guy who has some injury history, but because of that, hey, you can get him the most incentive-laden freaking contract there is and let him earn his paycheck. They've done it already. I would look forward to bringing a guy like that in. I'm really trying to find a way to move on from mediocre, linebacker play of Alex Anzalone. TJ Edwards, a guy that we all wanted, is another one that we should be looking at and identifying. I know everybody and their mother wants like the big names and stuff, but I'm looking for players. I'm looking for people who can just come in, be a player, be a part of the culture, and make this team better. I don't want the name. I want the player. The defense needs some much needed injected talent to make it happen. Jonas Griff. I'm about to say his name right. Did I say that right, Dan?
I think so. I think so. I'm not. So that seriously, that would not be a bad pick. You named some really good players. One guy. I'm going to back up, talk about offensive line, and it's kind of funny. The guy I would target if I was Detroit, and it's funny because I was wrong here because I wanted him. I thought Detroit made a mistake because they drafted Ragnow instead of Billy Price, and I thought that was a big mistake. And boy, was I wrong. But Billy Price is a guy on that list. He can play guard and center. He won, I believe it's the Remington Award for a top offensive lineman in college football. He played at Ohio State. And I remember just thinking, oh, this guy's going to be an all-pro center. I have no idea what happened to him. In first it was Cincinnati, then it was with the Giants, and now it's with Arizona. I have no idea why he didn't succeed in the NFL. And I remember it's kind of funny, but I remember thinking, boy, the Lions messed up. They should have drafted Billy Price and said Ragnow. This is going to be a mistake. And I think you corrected me on this. You're like, Dan, no, this Ragnow guy's better. And
he was aggressive. He was aggressive, and what I saw was he played smart. I look at little stuff because the little stuff to me become the big.
You're right. I made a mistake, but that's a guy I would love to see Detroit sign, and that's.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem I have with that.
And
at some point, though, Dan, we're going to have to move on from Taylor Decker, which means we're going to have to then move Sewell over to the left tackle. So I'm trying to keep it all young. You see what I'm saying?
Well, remember, he's a young player who can play guard and tackle. Remember, he came.
I thought he was 28.
Now.
Price,
yeah.
I thought Price was 28.
I think he's younger because he came out the same year Ragnow came out. And this would be a guy I think the Detroit Lions should jump all over.
Yeah, I was right. He's 28. See?
He's a guy with some upside who can play multiple positions. I also think it's very smart that you're thinking long-term about Decker. So, I mean, you may want to address that in the draft, but I think all of us are on board. If you're a Detroit Lions fan at 6, you want to trade down and try to
that's the golden scenario.
Talent.
Yeah, that's the golden scenario. But I'm trying to fix the team in a way to where I've already addressed cornerbacks. I've already addressed linebackers, right? Like there's a few other linebacker names in here, but I'm just going away from the names.
You're doing something that's really smart that Lions fans really are really overlooking is that you have to fix all 3 levels of this defense, and going after big names that you think are going to come cheap is just wrong. You want to go after players that you can afford that fit the culture, and what you're doing is just genius. And the fact that you're getting people telling you that you're smoking or lay off the weed, I question your football knowledge. And hey, look, I'm making some enemies here. I get it, but you have to understand Detroit's not the destination place. You're not going to land these free agents cheap, and you need to fix all 3 levels.
Yep.
You need multiple players. And what are you going to do if you sign $15 million to one player? Well, you're not going to be able to sign one. You're not going to be able to sign the player that you want to get. You need 3 or 4 starters, and then you need some more draft picks, and that's how you build a winning team.
Yeah, when it comes to Luke's football knowledge, I've been watching him for a very long time, and I can tell you when it comes to him proving a lot of people wrong, he's got a pretty damn good track record. He's already got Montez Sweat, Greedy Williams, and Akuda under his belt. So,
listen, it's more than them I don't hit on. But people like to point out the negative. I'm cool with that, right? Because the way I think is so not in the group that it seems weird. But I'm okay with being weird because I'm looking to win.
You're right. You're right. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not a Lions fan. I'm telling you that you're right. You know, it's obvious to somebody if you're a fan of a team, it's really hard. You like think every player is going to be an all pro. I get that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, everything you're saying, Luke. Just as an outside observer, this is how you build a championship caliber team.
Yeah, listen, I'm trying to get us ahead of it. Friendly neighborhood Lion fan says, Luke, you said you would take Joey Porter Jr. cornerback at 9 if the Lions can trade down. Would you take him at 6? At 6, I feel that you have to take a quarterback, and I'm gonna tell you why. If Jalen Carter's not there, I'm not taking another pass rusher. I'm just not doing it. I'm not. You got people under contract. Even if you dump them and save money on that end, you still have people at that position. So I don't see a reason in doing that. And look at this draft. Look, you can probably find another damn pass rusher in the 7th round. This is a very interesting draft that's really set up for you to get what you need now.
Could get Carter from Army. That dude's 6'7", and it was compared to Aiden Hutchinson. Interesting player.
But my thing is this. Let's say all the people that I think we could go after are off the board, and Joey Porter Jr. is sitting there, and he's at 6, and I got to force that pick. Yeah, I would do it. I don't care. I want players. I do not care. Right? Like, I just want players. That's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for players that still fit our culture. Right? I'm not trying to dimmy down the reality of it, but I'm looking for players. And I'm looking for players at one particular unit. Defense. I cannot stress to you enough. They were 9-8. They started out 1-6, not because of the offense. They had a top 5, top 3 offense while they were 1-6, and it was because of defense. That's just the reality of it. We've had a crappy defense for the last 4 years.
Shoot, the last time we had a good defense. God, how long is it?
So hold on, let's do the math. You've had Dan Campbell for 2 seasons, and the defense is hot garbage in both those years, right? Yeah. So that's 2. Patricia for 3, so that's 5.
Oh,
so
God,
for the past 5 seasons, you've had a trash defense, and you wonder why I was talking about Brad Holmes when everybody wanted to fire Dan Campbell.
Oh God, we might have had a trash defense since 2014. I'm just thinking about it.
I'm just saying in terms of just looking at it. Now the other part of it is this. The other part of it is this. Because people love to point when I'm wrong, right? But they don't want to point out when I'm right. And one of the things that I kept telling people is, listen, we have to address the defense. The defense needs to be addressed. And what we've done is we've ignored the defense over and over. I was right about Patricia. I was right about firing him after his first season. And guess what? A lot of teams have already shown you that they're not afraid to do that. Because you need to just go ahead and call a spade and move on. My position is this. How can you get enough players to cover all three levels? If you go out and you're signing certain players to these large deals, because they're going to want them, you're not going to be able to afford these other people.
Bingo.
You're not. You're just not. And if you do it the way I'm saying, let's say you mess around and you get Murphy or you get Buddings, right? You get him, that's one, right? You still got Okuda, you still got Jacobs, all right? So that's two. You let's say you turn around and you sign Amani as a depth guy. All right, fine, right? They go three, and then you got Butler, that's four. That's still better than what we taught it out there this past season. And then you look at it right here, because this is the other part that's going to piss off some more people when I go to this part of it. You have to draft you a freaking safety. Okay?
Yeah. And by the way, that list is wrong. Kazir White's an inside linebacker.
I know.
Outside linebacker. And by the way, that was a steal. He was with the Chargers for several years.
Trust and believe.
That is a really good football player. You guys should take a hard look at him. But
so he's another guy on my list. And last year I was hooping and hollering saying that we really need to sign this guy.
That was a steal for the Eagles.
And we didn't get him. I was like, I can't believe we didn't get him. We should get that guy, and we didn't. I'm not looking at names. I'm looking at the cultural fit based on what we're probably going to pay to get their services. Now, the reason I'm going to show y'all the quarterbacks is because I want y'all to put some things in perspective on why my stance is if you're stuck at 6, you might want to just take your quarterback. Of all these quarterbacks right here, let's go through the list. Are you taking Mason Rudolph to be your backup? I'm not.
No.
You're almost better off taking a rookie.
You are. That's the scary part. That's the scary part. You are. Are you taking Case Keenum? I see you in the back. Give me a second, John, because we getting ready to get off in a second. So you kind of came at a perfect but not so perfect time. But you're not taking Case Keenum as a backup, right? Like that to me would be delusional in my opinion, right? Teddy Bridgewater, I'm good on that, right? See, this is where I feel like it's delusional.
And what you're leaving out is that all these guys are going to be really expensive that you're mentioning. The NFL Network released a three round mock draft, and I kind of did a mock video on it, so I'm promoting myself on your channel. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. Get your promotion.
The Lions had their third round pick drafting. It's Tanner something, the quarterback out of Stanford. And I thought that was just genius because he's a guy who's very similar to Jared Goff. Goff, as you know, is a Cal guy. This guy is a Stanford guy. I think these two guys would hit it off. I think they'd get along. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that just makes a lot of sense because here's a guy who can push Goff so he's not comfortable, but he's not a guy because you take him in the third round that fans are going to go, hey, we need to bench Goff if he throws an interception. And I thought that was genius.
But the point that you have to look at in the grand scheme of things is the fact that they are still trying to address the what if possibilities, right? Yeah. And that's where it come in at. Let me bring in my next guest before we get up out of here, John Kapler. John, brother,
what's going on? What's going on? Yes, defense and LJ Skinner for safety.
Listen, I cannot stress this defense mantra as hard as I am. Don't look at the name.
I can. I can press it even harder. Defense.
Listen, the crazy part is this. The crazy part is this. You have to be able to understand that your team still gave up the most yards per play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
And for all the talk that people want to have about Kirby Joseph, I'm sorry, he was part of that problem. And again, he's a rookie. He was a rookie, totally a rookie. I'm totally get it. But my point I'm making is even though he was a rookie, the point that I'm making is that guy was able to still show some flashes. You need to get a compliment to him. To me, he's Tracy Walker. That's just what I see. I could be absolutely wrong.
Hey, that's better than having another Will Harris.
Right, but I want somebody that's going to be able to not only hit you, but hit you and let you know I'm here. I need
LJ Skinner, a taller Ronnie Lott. I'm telling you.
He's a refrigerator on legs.
I watched 2 games so far of Skinner. Again, I did forget Valentine's Day, so some things you got to cut short.
You were so close to getting away with that.
I was so close. I had to tell my friends how smooth I was.
Friend for that, I'd be like,
this is what happened when you celebrate too early.
Little bit.
But again, before we get out of here, I'm only addressing the free agent pool for a reason. So I want to bring this back up again, and then I'll let you rip a little bit, John. But right here, I'm just asking you, look at this. Even if you try to say, hey, we can get Gardner Minshew, it's going to cost you.
Yes, it will.
It's going to cost you. If you say we can get Phillip Walker, and at that point, you just don't care. You just don't care. You don't care. And I'm telling you, it's a shame. This backup quarterback situation needs to be something of importance with a future behind it. In terms of the running backs, that are going to be available to you, I mean, Ronald Jones might be intriguing, but even he's starting to look like he's slowed up and slowing down, and I think it's not going to be there. Miles Sanders could be a decent pickup, but again,
he's going to be expensive.
He's going to be expensive.
Yeah, he is.
He's going
to be really expensive.
He's going to be expensive. You know what I mean? And I'm just trying to figure this out. Listen, you got people under contract. You need to start to look at the draft somebody that can save you some money. I'm telling people over and over, I love Jamal Williams, but I have to make some hard decisions.
I think honestly we're gonna take a running back in the draft. I'm thinking we might take Keaton Mitchell just because we brought in Montgomery, and that was his boy when he was coaching for the Pirates.
If it's one running back I would pay money for, it's Tony Pollard. I don't think he makes it to free agency. I would pay, but he gonna cost you. But I would pay Tony Pollard.
Remember, he might not cost as much as you think because he got injured. Remember that, guys.
Coming off of that injury, you go over with your medical staff and make sure that he's okay. But
Andrew be damned. Let me tell you something. Andrew be damned.
He's a really, really good player, though.
That dude gonna get paid. Somebody gonna pay. Listen, we keep forgetting that this team don't have a problem waiting on the masses. Okay, we don't have a problem waiting on it. We waited on, people like
Williams.
Like Williams and Pascal and a whole lot of people. We still waiting on Levi, right? So I'm just putting it out there.
I think a lot of us exists.
Now, again, if you notice, I didn't talk about no safeties. If you notice, I didn't talk about that in terms of free agency. It's because I want to draft him. I want to draft a true, strong safety that can bring some funk to the table. You have to be able to be in the pocket and out. And you notice I didn't name no safeties because guess what? I believe we can draft them, and based on what's out here in terms of free agency, I'm good. Obviously, I know somebody's going to say, but what about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? He's going to
take that Will Harris guy. He looks terrible.
Money is going to be too much for a safety.
Yeah, I just think it's going
to cost the names that are out there. They're nice, but they're pricey.
Yeah, I think you got to look at people who are going to have markets, and that's what I'm looking at.
Well, you guys know I have a man crush on Antonio Johnson, so if you guys want to take Skinner and let Johnson free fall to Kansas City, I would really love that because you've noticed Juan Thornhill's on that list, and I don't think
Johnson's a beast.
I'd say that's the guy I'm kind of targeting for Kansas City, and you saw it right there. He would replace Juan Thornhill. So that's kind of what I'm kind of hoping for. But I in all fairness, I haven't watched Skinner play yet, so I can't sit here and say that he wouldn't be a good fit. But
I mean, I've just seen highlights, and that's just him, hitting people. So
Well,
I haven't watched film.
The scheme that Kansas City runs, I don't think they want to bring in that guy because we drafted a guy by the name of Byron Cook. Not a big name in the draft circles, but he had some really key plays in the playoffs, and he's going to be a very key contributor. And kind of a low-key late second-round pick for the Chiefs, a big impact player. And he's the type of guy that I'm looking at the lottery, draft guys like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, again, I've put out there my list of people that we should be targeting in free agency. I didn't go too in depth because we got a lot of time until free agency. Well, not I'm gonna say a lot of time, but we got a nice little time before free
Like
agency.
6 weeks.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a little bit of time. So I'm going to be talking about this often. I'm going to go a little bit deeper and dive into it. Just showing you what I think and why I think we should get these people. I really wanted White. People who follow me know that I wanted Kaiser White. I thought we should have been signing him before the season even started. That time came and went, and if we had got him, we wouldn't be talking about getting a lot more linebackers. So that's
he was a guy when somebody signed him away from the Chargers. I was because that guy was a damn good player.
Just
I
pray
have
to
no
God
idea why
that,
the Chargers got rid of him. So for almost nothing, really. I mean,
just pray to God Brad Holmes isn't actually meaning when he says that he doesn't value the linebacker position. I don't know if that was a smoke screen or really what the hell that was.
We'll find out this year, won't we?
Yeah, we're gonna find out. Not a Lion fan, but those Pistons champ ready says that's like saying don't take Calvin Johnson because you have Roy Williams. Always upgrade your talent for the cheap if you can. Preach. Say it again.
Hey,
Preach.
freaking man, 200%.
Preach.
Get
That's the reality.
Yep.
You have to.
Take the value.
I'm not telling you I hate these players. Although I could, there's there's a few players that I was like Tavon Wilson. I was like, this is not. We got to stop with this, right? Ellis Anzalone needs to go. I'm sorry, he needs to go. That's all I'm saying.
Campbell is
John,
an upgrade over him all day.
John, give me your final thoughts as we get out of here. I can't say it enough. I hope everybody understood why I addressed these particular positions and why I target those particular players because they fit the schemes and they fit the mentality and they fit the culture of this team.
bingo.
That's why I wanted to. Give me your final thoughts, John.
My thoughts are defense. You can go get the quarterback in, the 4th round, but them first 6 picks, unless there is nothing that is of value on defense and there is something just sitting there on offense, a wide receiver or running back that is just like he's much better than anything on defense, that's all I want them first 6 picks. Defense. And upgrades, I'm going to say it in a video I'm going to make. You're going to add by subtraction. We're going to release some players, and anyone we add needs to be much better than the players we release. And same thing for draft.
Yeah. I'm gonna do this quick question really quick. It came in here a little bit late, but I'm gonna answer it. Not a Lion fan, but says question for the panel in the chat. Can Ramsey still walk that talk? I don't think he can. I feel like he has digressed and regressed every year.
I'm going to stand out. I still think he's an elite corner. Maybe he's not the best in football,
right? But can he walk that talk? I think he's
okay. Top 5 corner going into next year. But I'll be honest, like if I was trying to make a trade or would I be targeting him? The answer would be no, because I think 2 years ago you were saying who's the best corner in football, and everybody said Jalen Ramsey. I think going into 2023, I feel like I'm nuts for saying this. I think the best corner in football is Sauce Gardner. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but
we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out soon enough. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I think he's still an elite corner. I think he's still a top 5 corner, but I'm not gonna like. I wouldn't.
Lions Rebel gave you the how, Sway. How?
Yeah,
you don't get all the answers.
He's an upgrade over what we got.
Yeah, but he's never going to live up to that price tag.
I just don't think he.
I mean, that's the thing, What do we pay him? Does do the Rams take part of his contract to get rid of him if we take him on? And can he be a Lion?
All right, my man Crimson Shadow. What are your final thoughts for the people?
Well, I'm going to say prepare this. If you're listening to Woodward, you're going to hear this a lot. But the answer to everything is you got to draft the cocaine.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
terrible.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
terrible. That's not even a thing.
You have to go.
It's not even a thing.
Okay, Adam Jr., Adam Follower.
And then right below there, he's got some lines all ready to go. Shadow's ready to party, folks.
I have no clue. Listen, my man Dan Talks Football coming on, man. I appreciate you for coming through. I know you got your own things going on. You're doing stuff, getting things done. Give the people your final thoughts and tell them, plug the channel. Let them know how to find
Hey,
you.
thank you so much for letting me plug my channel, Dan Talks Football. I'm live every Friday. I talk 32 teams. I just want to talk to football fans. I'm going to be a bad guy here. I'm going to tell you, Lions fans, this. People, that Detroit is not a destination location. Free agents aren't lining up to go to Detroit. If you want free agents, you have to do what Jacksonville did last year. You're going to have to overpay for these guys. For those of you who think that Jamal Williams is going to take a hometown discount because Detroit's special, Detroit's not special. I know I'm making some enemies here. But those of you, stop thinking you're going to get a hometown discount to come to Detroit. People aren't thinking that, all right? So stop it.
I mean,
But do come talk to me. By the way, if you want to tell me I'm wrong, come on my show Friday 7 p.m. Central Time. Come on, tell me I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll own up to it. But I'm telling you, free agents aren't taking hometown discounts to come to Detroit. All right, so stop thinking that.
Shoot, they're not taking hometown discounts to go home.
No, they're not. A lot of people feel like, their fan base and like people want to come home and people want to, come to my team. No, I had a buddy of mine try to tell me Kyler Murray's going to take a hometown discount to stay in Arizona. I'm like, no, he's not.
No.
Put the pipe down. No,
Yeah, no,
I mean,
100%.
keep this in mind. You had a bunch of players last draft that wanted to come here. Penny wanted to come here, and Drake London wanted to come here.
Yeah, but that's different. That don't count. You can't count when draft picks that they want to go somewhere. It's a money issue, right? Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but if I'm Jamarcus Russell, I want to go to the Raiders too, right?
Oh, and by the way, all draft picks are trained to say that. You don't. But if you're not aware, draft picks in college actually take classes on how to talk to the media, and they're trained on how they do that. Watch Hard Knocks. It was one of the best moments. Bill O'Brien actually went through and he says, what do you do when somebody asks about that? And all of them had pre-programmed responses. All NFL players and college players do this. You're never going to hear somebody say, oh, I don't want to go to Detroit. Detroit picks 6.
Again, before we get out of here, just to prove your point more, Dan, even when it came time for the Giants-Chargers trade of Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, Eli didn't say he didn't want to go there. It was reported that his father didn't want him to go there.
Exactly.
So, again,
this is all programmed. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. I mean, these are smart moves. So, like, I mean, Jim Kelly years later came out that he said any team except Buffalo. He ended up liking it.
Ended up playing in Buffalo. See? All right, good people. Thank y'all for coming in. It was supposed to be a short show, but like always, y'all drug me in further. Okay. I love it. Don't get it twisted. I love every bit of it. Again, I gave you some names that you can look at. And just in terms of those people, like I said, Saunders, Gaines, the linebackers, super veterans. I gave you some names, right? I gave you Levante David. I gave you Kaiser White. You know what I'm saying? I gave you Jonas Griff. I gave you TJ Edwards and these things like this. I gave you cornerbacks with Byron Murphy and Sean Murphy Buttons, right? I gave you these names, right? Because I believe that you can truly get some changes with these types of players. And it is what it is, right? Like, that's what it is. But today's positive quote comes from a person named John Wooden. Now,
great quote.
I love what he says about this. He says, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. I'm going to tell you, this is special because he said a lot, but the part that stood out to me was the effort. You made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. And that evolves around you being able to just move. When he made this quote, he was trying to get you into a mindset. That mindset is when you're trying to become the best version of you, you cannot sit in your same place and expect for it to come to you. You have to get up, put one foot in front of the other, and move. You have to be able to tell yourself that yesterday probably wasn't my best day, but today it gets better. And tomorrow, well, guess what? You're going to love me because that's going to be a new person. Every single time you get up, every time you make a move, you switch jobs, you switch girlfriends, you switch boyfriends, whatever you do it with an effort that keeps you in the motion of movement. Do it in an effort that gives you the best chance of which you are capable of in terms of effort. You see, it's a mindset. It's a peace of mind that comes when you are able to push yourself beyond your own capabilities. Greatness has always forced us to do things in the hardest times. Greatness has always pushed us to be better than we thought we could ever be. It's a reason why we get coaches. It's a reason why we reflect on our past, because many of us know that where we came from and where we are today are night and day. Take the pride of knowing that your effort to become the best in which you are capable was achieved. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Shoot me some messages. I love to read them and talk back to you. And let's keep this thing going. The plan is to go live tomorrow, but if I don't, please don't kill me. I know I'm supposed to be on the on-call list tomorrow, but I'm going to try to finesse the hell out of that. So we'll see what happens. If I'm on, you know I won my battle, even though I lost the one from yesterday. And if you don't do nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, don't be no chump. Please do your research. We are out.